I love this question because there's, like any good cat in architecture, there's multiple ways to skin it, right? So I'll talk about this particular method first, and then I'll tell about some of the other methods that you can use. So this one, essentially we sandwich in, so we're using I-beams, right? So, or what it's actually called a W section, a wide flange section, right? You know what, I think I need paper so I can sketch this. Give me. Okay, so let us begin. So the first one that we mentioned, so we're using a, oh, you can't see that. We're using a W section of steel, right? So it's a wide flange. It's called wide flange because the flange is wide of steel. And what we do is we take wood, like a 2x that will fit inside of here on both. In this case, because we're doing both sides, we're doing on both sides, and then bolt through the steel. And then you can put your joist hanger on that wood and have your joist sit on there. That's method number one. And in this case, you know, we had to essentially beef out the wood so that I'm just going to beef it out. So that when we put the hanger here, the wood actually set like this. That's the method that this project used. Now, the other project, or the other method you could use, is using the same piece of steel Simpson makes what's called a top mount hanger. Top mount hanger hangs this way, and it goes over the top, and then you can actually weld. Oh man, I'm like trying to draw this upside down. You can weld that edge down onto it and put your steel or your wood right there. Both methods work. This is the one that most of the contractors I know like to work with. You know, just so we know what we're working with here. Yeah, and that's kind of the two methods you can use for hanging wood beams off of a steel joist. And then you've got to make considerations for some other things, like how do you actually hold the steel up. In this one we have a plate that we put on the bottom here, and then that got welded, and then we have a beam below. This one was an HSS section, a hollow structure, so HSS, which stands for hollow structural section. And it's called that because if you were to cut it this way, the center of that piece of steel in plan is hollow. There's nothing here. Hollow structural section, wide flange, plate, and then the plate can be, you know, there are a couple methods. You could bolt this to the plate or you could weld it. I actually think they bolted in this situation. yeah, there's also other means for making this connection. Like you could take, let me just make sure I'm still in frame. Yep. If you wanted to, that hollow structural section, and we show that it's hollow by putting a dotted line there. You could put what's called a gusset plate on there. So basically that's like a plate in like a triangular shape that has a ledge that this W section can sit on. And you may want to bolt that to that and then weld this, or you know, you could do even a through plate which will go through the HSX. There's so many different ways you could do this, and so typically I will talk to the contractor about what their comfort is and what they're used to doing. I mean, you could even size it out depending on the loads that this sits on wood. And typically you would want, let's say we're doing this in wood, you would want to make sure you have more than the width of this in wood. And then it becomes a bearing situation. But you want to make sure that whatever this is, you know, also can handle the weight, you know, so you're nailing or using structural screws, or maybe you have like a long Simpson structural screw that goes through the whole thing, you know, or Mitex or one of those. But you want to make sure that the loads are not more than what can be under here. Or you could use, oh man, we're going deep into this now. Hollow structural, or sorry, wide section. You could size out, say, like a PSL, parallel strand lumber. Typically, if this was in section, we'd use some sort of, to kind of show that it's an engineered lumber. And you might need something on top, so you might still need that steel plate, or you know, sizing out whatever, to take that load and essentially distribute it to the beam that can carry it. But you know, engineered lumbers are very strong, and if you're in need essentially of steel for the beam, you might not be in need of steel for the column. So those are some of the many various ways in which you can handle that. And I'm sure there's more that I just haven't even gotten to or drawn out here. So hopefully that helps.